Yo, you ain't getting me, bro. Pathogenic ass bacteria. I ain't letting you take over my gut, man. Yo, you want to start a war essay? I can promise you this. This is an unwinnable fight for you, my boy. Yo, I put probiotics in my probiotics. I want my gut to be as strong as Donald's. I got some reflux and it's a fucking problem. So I put probiotics in my probiotics. Yo, first step in the morning, I take my ass to Market District. Second steps and angry emails to my pocket shit list. Fully vindicated, I go back on mission. I start booking to the owl with all the milk and biscuits. Yo, 100 different options, but the choice is clear. I spend my dough in yogurt and not poison beer. I got a message for you fucks and it's the end is near. Lend your ear and let me show you my best idea. I put probiotics in my probiotics. I want my gut to be as strong as Donald's. I got some reflux and it's a fucking problem. So I put probiotics in my probiotics. So let me break this down. Yo, I take it and I shake it out. I put it back so I don't waste it now. A little mix, then I bake it out. And then I put it in place in my face and I take it down. Yo, I don't even taste it. Wow, got a smile on my face as I pace it. I wait it out. My gut moves and I start to feel chase him out. You're wasted now. Nice job, take a bow. Yo, lock and load, start a culture and I got to go. Got me yogurt, I'm about to blow. Out the door. There's something little about your boy that I promise you you're really gonna want to know. No, stop and go. I'ma show up, I'ma drop a note with a warning. You should stop it, bro. You got to go. Oh, there's something that you got to know. I don't want you in my I put probiotics in my probiotics. I want my gut to be as strong as Donald's. I got some reflux and it's a fucking problem. So I put probiotics in my probiotics. You thought you could get me that easily, huh, bro? Little bastard ass fake masterclass gut bacteria. Nobody even likes you. I'll put you on a tightrope between two malfunctioning light poles, and my little nephew might go a little crazy and turn on the light, bro. I'm done roasting your ass, kid. It's toilet time for you, my guy. I feel it coming now. You know, I kinda need to eat my food and not have to deal with you freaking out and fermenting all my carbohydrates, man. Alright? Be gone with yourself. I put probiotics in my probiotics.
Hi, we're Visible. We're the wireless company with nothing to hide. Seriously. Hidden
Brothers!
fees? We don't have
Now let's turn
them.
this
Annual
off.
contracts? Not our
Hope
thing.
you're good. Hope you enjoyed my music video. That was done last year, by the way. I think it was about a year ago. I got in a stint of doing music videos. There's actually another one on my personal channel, which is Ryan Michael Ballo. It should be connected to this one or a link to this one on the Cortex Labs channel, where I raved about, or I ranted about how shitty a game called Modern Warfare 2 was, okay? Modern Warfare is a fast-paced, active arcade shooter type of game, which has always had really smooth, fast movement and allowed players to have a skill gap via movement, and then Modern Warfare 2 came out and it really, really sucked. So I did a video about how sucky it was. All right, a couple things to talk about on this live stream. So look, title of this live stream is Testosterone and Enanthate Protocols, Estradiol and ERECTIONS, Nootropics, and more. So as we get people in here, let's chat about it, boys, because I got stuff to talk about. All right, let me get the chat open here. Just give me a segundo while I deal with some technical stuff. There it is. Awesome. Okay, so I've been telling you guys I'm meaning to change my protocol off of testosterone propionate. You know, I did a whole series of content on testosterone propionate and how it's very effective for libido. It's pretty epic for instantly turning on super physiologic levels of testosterone. And all of that is true. However, it is as close as you're going to get to testosterone suspension, or very close to testosterone suspension. And therefore, it really does burn when you inject it. Okay. Not necessarily on injection, but post injection throughout the course of the day. If you're dosing testosterone propionate sub-Q, it burns worse. Okay. Because all that benzoyl alcohol is sitting in your fucking skin, which is not good. If you're injecting it intramuscular or shallow intramuscular, it is a lot better. However, considering my protocol, and it turns out that like my estradiol really didn't need to be managed on prop all that much, and sometimes it would actually drop too low because of the trough, I just went sub-Q with it and it ended up really hurting. It's just a pain in the ass to be doing leg day at the gym and then your legs hurt because of prop. So This is my new protocol. I've been meaning to switch to testosterone and enanthate, which I've run a cycle of before, and it was quite effective for me. You know, again, with the longer esters, the strategy really is infrequent injections, somewhat of a bolus at once if you can tolerate it, so that you don't have constant estradiol binding at the receptors. Or though, alternatively, it's to pretty low dose the test on these longer esters between 100 and 130 milligrams, between 1,000 and 2,000 IUs HCG a week, and usually the estrogen, if you're doing everything right, will fall in the right range. So my TRT protocol at the moment, and probably moving forward, is 112 milligrams of testosterone enanthate per week. Okay, that's split up into shallow intramuscular daily injections. It is between 1,000 and 1,500 IU of HCG per week, 500 IU injected at a time. That's minimal effective dose. I mean, maybe you could say 250, 300 is minimal effective dose, but for me, all things considered, 500 is the minimal effective dose. That's it. That's it. You know, in every TRT protocol, if erections and libido start to go away, or if I'm noticing them, especially in the morning, like, you know, morning erections are going away, well, then I will throw down a very little bit of Arimidex. And usually it is 0.03 to 0.06 milligrams of Arimidex. And then I'm good to go, and erections come right back literally that day because of how powerful Anastrozole is. It's like, you know, the balance is really, really fine, and it's got to be really, really fine on estradiol with TRT. You know, so in some cases, estradiol not rising as testosterone is rising and as HCG is doing its magic intratesticularly is the sweet spot for libido for people, right? Estradiol, it can be very, very inhibitory depending on the person, but largely, generally speaking, mostly everybody, to libido and erections. So anyway, with this protocol, like I've run it before, I've run enanthate slightly higher, and estradiol was okay. I still had to manage it a little bit, but I'm hoping in this protocol that I really won't need to manage it. You know, so far it's been about a week in on this protocol, and I haven't really felt any estrogenic side effects. In fact, erections, libido, all that stuff is pretty good. So just want to share that with you folks because, you know, I think it's relevant, and I think you guys are always interested in kind of what I'm doing. Oh yeah, estradiol and erection. So here's the interesting thing about, like, you know, the 3 times that I've gone below 120 milligrams of testosterone per week with an adequate dose of of HCG. Post ejaculation, okay, this is the period in which prolactin surges, and, you know, you have basically ED, and you have a lack of libido. That's meant to be. That's an inborn state that is meant to be and is useful so that you don't fuck your dick off. Interestingly, when my estradiol on a lower dose TRT protocol ends up in range, and by the way, on a higher TRT dose protocol with the right AI, the estradiol ends up in the same range. However, the difference is post climax, I basically stay largely erect for longer. Okay, it still goes down as it would or whatever, but it's just a noticeably more erection quality in that state, which I find really interesting. How the fuck can I explain that? I don't know. You know, it changes in SHBG via a different dose. You know, in my natural state, perhaps 750 to 900 is where I was most optimal in terms of sexual function. I mean, there's just a lot of different unknowns in that case, but ultimately, estradiol is a significant contributor to erectile issues on TRT, and you've got to find the fucking sweet spot, boys. And it's usually between 20 and 30. If you can get your dose down low enough where things fall in the right range because you're doing everything else correctly, you're still going to be anabolic. You know, I'm still quite anabolic on 112 milligrams a week of test. You know, I'm pushing very hard at the gym. I mean, I'm crying. Literally, as yesterday and the day before, after some sets, I fucking cried a little bit at the gym. That's how bad, you know, you got to put yourself through pain truly to fucking grow. If you want that lean, chiseled physique, brothers, happy Saturday, everybody. Hope you're doing great. Hope you enjoyed the video in the beginning. Now that it's summer, I'm kind of back into, well, going outside a lot more, and probably I'll be doing another music video. All right, let's get to some questions while we filter some folks in here on an early Saturday morning at 8:55 a.m. Soko's got a question. Hey, Ryan, one problem I've been having. Can't climax, or it takes forever. T and estrogen levels are good. Any idea what's going on? Are you on TRT? Please put that in the chat. It's work for work. What are your thoughts on black ginger for erections? I don't really know black ginger. Let's see what it's doing. Probably not going to be that potent. I mean, the only things that I found potent that are not tadalafil, sildenafil, or trimix or something would be Schisandra, and then Icarin, which is also a PDE5 inhibitor and is the main active chemical in horny goat weed. So you might want to look at Icarin. It's ICARRIN, something to that effect. That's it. That stuff's actually very potent, right? It's a PDE5 inhibitor like these other ones. 200 to 400 milligrams will give you better erections. Black ginger looks like it's promoting the hypertrophy of skeletal muscle by elevating serum testosterone levels. Interesting. So, it probably increases serum testosterone to a marginal degree, which certainly could help erectile quality for some guys. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would say about black ginger. Never really heard it talked about before, but is what it is. Okay, so back to Scotty Soko's question, which was, guy can't climax, or it takes a long time. Testosterone and estradiol levels are good. Okay, what are the levels? And he's on 110 a week. What are those levels? What do you mean good? I need to see your labs. What are your labs? Because you could think, because you're reading the idiots on Reddit saying that you shouldn't manage estradiol, you should let it go, that 37 is good. And 37 might give you ED. And it also might prevent you from climaxing. What people have to understand about estradiol relative to this is that estrogen in high quantities is one of the primary inhibitors of dopamine firing from the arcuate nucleus of the brain. Okay, you can learn about that in Ninja Nerd's prolactin breakdown. This guy is a PhD and MD. He does these hour-and-a-half long, like, whiteboard breakdowns of physiology, and one of them, on prolactin, discusses the many inhibitors of dopamine ultimately, which is a inhibitor of prolactin, and one of them is estradiol. So you've got to think about that. What is your total testosterone? Total TE. Okay, in this case, man, it's either the test should be at 1,000 for you, it should be slightly lower for you. Okay, so that's the second option. And then lastly, your prolactin's high. Okay, one of the most significant contributors to inability to climax is high prolactin. If you take it to 20 nanograms per milliliter and you leave it there, you're not going to be able to climax. If it goes to 30, 40, 50, forget it. You're not climaxing, right? It's just going to take forever. I think that's because of the inhibition of tubular infundibular dopamine neurons, right, in the hypothalamus. And that's one of the things that does happen with elevated prolactin. So what is your prolactin? You're not giving context here because there's something wrong. Those numbers look great. What are you taking? What supplements are you taking? Are you taking anything serotonergic? Because that'll inhibit climax capacity. Are you taking anything that's blocking dopamine receptors? That'll inhibit climax capacity. Are you taking kratom? Are you smoking weed? Do you drink too much? All these things contribute. Whiskey dick is a real fucking thing for a real reason. That stuff prevents you from climaxing. It's one of the reasons I don't drink, boys, among other reasons. So you gotta put it in context. There is definitely a reason for this. I don't know your history where you want an SSRI. I can guarantee you any of the possibilities that I just laid out are probably one of those is the case. Swish or swish. And if that's so, you've got to get to the bottom of what that is. How noticeable is it go from Natty 900 test levels in the morning to TRT 900 test levels all day? This is a good question because it actually is a different effect, right? I was Natty 950 before I got on TRT. Again, my testosterone dropped from 950 to 770. I actually remember looking at the lab, so I remember the numbers. And that didn't feel great, but that was me aging, right? There was nothing I can do about that given my current protocol never changed. It just went down. I mean, I didn't do anything. Like, I didn't start drinking. I didn't do anything, bro. It just went down. But my 950 Natty test, I mean, it felt great. But steady state, constant elevated androgens feels different. The difference really is at 8 p.m., you really aren't tired. If everything else is right in your diet, you're not super tired at 8 p.m. and you can do live streams or do work or hang out with your kids and whatever, like do social events, which I found really interesting when I got on TRT. Initially 1150 were my levels, 35 estradiol. That was on 210 a week, no HCG. Wasn't the best protocol because estradiol was a little too high for me, but my energy was fucking max all the time, all the time. I think the other critical difference is gym energy. And interestingly, right now, like on my protocol of 112 milligrams a week of testosterone and Enanthate and 1500 a week of HCG split up into 500 IU injections 3 times a week. My gym energy is insane. I mean, this morning, the moment fucking Planet Fitness opened, they open at 7 now on weekdays, which is weekends, which is a pain in the ass. I went in there and did biceps, until I wanted to fucking cry, and squats and a little bit of leg training. And so I feel really, really great, even at lower levels of testosterone. I've got a run total test. It's probably between 750 and 900 at this point, somewhere around there, maybe a little lower, maybe in the middle. But yeah, significant difference. Look, steady state androgens gives you androgenic energy all the time. Now that can be good, like if your body tolerates it well, but it can also be not good if your body doesn't tolerate it well, particularly relating to sleep. And if you're, anxiety prone, right? Because remember, testosterone is enhancing the synthesis of dopamine, noradrenaline, and then adrenaline, right? In that order. So, overages of those neurotransmitters can make people feel a little weird. But yeah, there's a big difference. There's a big difference. The negative to that, though, the negative to steady state androgens, if estradiol doesn't fall in a reasonable range, within range from your dose, is that if it doesn't and it's above 32 picograms per milliliter, well, you've got elevated estradiol all the time, or a good bit, and you're constantly converting test to estrogen. Now, and that's one of the reasons why on higher doses, I would suggest not doing sub-Q daily on higher doses, unless you can confidently manage the estradiol, which is tricky with AIs, because you have constant spillover of estradiol. You get a lot of aromatization. So that's that. But yes, significant difference. Sam Thompson, what's your opinion on these methylation panel tests? Are they worth it? How dramatic are the potential benefit? I've never seen anyone in my 16 years of doing consulting work on, nootropics, TRT, biohacking, brain physiology, weird complex issues, dopamine issues, neurotrophic factor restoration, fucking post-Adderall syndrome, post-benzo syndrome, runs the gamut, right? The list goes on. I've never seen anyone benefit from, doing anything regarding methylation, whether they take tests and recognize they don't methylate a lot, and so they start taking methylated B vitamins. Never a big difference. I think that's one of those things, in the health biosphere that's a little overblown or maybe just exaggerated. However, maybe other people do get benefits. I've just not seen it in what is ultimately a small sample size, admittedly, but still not seen it in that small sample size. EET, what do you think the cause of lower nitrogen retention on test prop? Using 20 milligrams test prop daily and less fuller. Absolutely. Maybe there's a connection between estradiol and nitrogen retention, right? This is true that the shorter esters or fast-acting esters equal less nitrogen retention, which equals less physical fullness than longer esters. It's always been known that the longer esters make you retain more nitrogen. So maybe estradiol in steady state, which is ultimately what happens on longer esters versus shorter esters, which estradiol is not steady state. It'll peak and then it drops back down, which is ideal for people. That's why shorter esters can be better for people. Maybe that's the issue. I noticed on prop that, I looked less full for sure. Like the same dose of prop, first of all, you can't really compare the two, but compared to Cypionate, I was much bigger, looked fuller on Cypionate at higher doses for sure. So yeah, that's just one of the things. Like if the protocol works, deal with it. I'm certainly I'm still lean and big, but I feel like I'm less full, definitely, like less of that anabolic look than when on higher dose, longer esters. Definitely, I could care less though, right? If the libido and erections are great, you're still anabolic, you feel great, you don't have side effects, hematocrit doesn't go out of range, it's definitely worth it. Yes, Sissoko was on an SRI for 10 years, of course. So that is what I figured. You've got PSSD and you need long-term rehabilitation of that. If you've got the budget, I've got coaching on that. But otherwise, stay out of the PSSD forums, because all they're going to suggest is neurotransmitter modulation, which is part of it. But the endocrine system is largely the issue in people with SSRIs. But in your case, you might want to try DHT derivative. Okay, I've seen in weird cases things like Winstrol, that's a fucking DHT anabolic androgenic steroid that people used to cut for shows. I've seen Winstrol resolve people's PSSD in addition to a TRT HCG protocol. Okay, same thing with Proviron, same thing with oxandrolone. So you might want to look into some anabolic steroids. Steve Markowitz is saying, how to increase penile sensitivity after prolonged kratom abuse? Yeah, that's a hard one. If your prolactin's back in range now, because that's the primary problem with that, You probably have to run a couple cycles of 9-methyl-beta-carboline or 9-MeBC so that you can restart the tubuloinfundibular dopamine neurons and their firing, or generate new dopamine neurons in that area, because they're probably either malfunctioning, impaired. Some of them have potentially died. That's what happens. If prolactin gets high, very high, or even markedly above or minorly above range, dopamine neurons have to try to fire to control that, and they can burn out from doing that. Okay, that's in the scientific literature. That's like the most closest proposed accurate mechanism by scientists studying this topic. So, that is likely what happened. 9-MeBC would be your best bet, honestly, in that case, but also penile sensitivity has a lot to do with testosterone and estradiol, Test in an adequate therapeutic range, 750 to 950 to 1,000. Maybe you need to be at 1,100. Who knows? Estradiol between 20 and 30, and keeping it there for a while. Otherwise, sensation. Yeah, I mean, you've got to, prolactin's got to stay down. You've got to work on hypothalamic dopamine release. Like if you took PT 141, I bet you temporarily have your sensation back. And that would tell you dopamine is a big part of that issue. But also, don't let estradiol get too far above range, because that will inhibit sensation significantly. So much, boys. Holy fuck. That's another reason I don't let my estradiol go. Sensation markedly goes out the window. It's like, who wants to live like that? ET, I remember you've also mentioned noticing the difference in mental effects of esters. Yes. I've used 900 milligrams test E a week, plus anabolic androgenic steroids, and even 15 milligrams of prop daily feels more stimulant until it peaks. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, test prop is a bitch of a compound, man. Like in every way, like good and bad. Bad because it hurts, and otherwise because it peaks very quickly. This is my test prop right here, by the way. Focus, power. See, there's not a whole lot left of that, but. Yep, that stuff peaks within 4 or 6 hours. Like it might peak sooner for you. It all really depends. If you're doing an intramuscular injection, it's gonna be peaking sooner than that. And that's that, like as I tried to dial prop in, there was a time where I ran 30 milligrams a day. I felt so fucking good, but I had to control the estradiol more, and I didn't like that. Like I only just go down a little bit. 30 milligrams a day at test prop. Like He-Man, for those of you who remember back in the day. If you don't, Superman is the equivalent, somewhat equivalent, but not as cool hair, at least, superhero compared to He-Man. Yeah, I felt fucking great from 6 a.m. and post injection until 10:30 at night when I was falling asleep. Literally perfect all day. It was incredible. But it messed with the sexual function that I did manage estradiol, and I would rather just bump that down a little bit and not have to take an AI in that particular case. So understand. Grunlund. Hey, Ryan, I want to hear your thoughts on some long-term or irreversible effects caused from ketamine. I'd love to know your thoughts. Don't know. Haven't dealt with it before. That's one drug or compound, whatever you would classify it as, that I haven't really had any people come to me with long-term side effects from. Not saying there isn't, the possibility for long-term side effects. There probably is. But I haven't had people come to me and say, I've got ketamine-induced, sexual issues or, any kind of issue. So I couldn't help you there. Arca, best thing for quick trigger anger outbursts. Maybe high dose L-theanine. Look into what hormone might be out of range. That's called a sex hormone might be out of range that's causing that. For sure. Again, harping on estrogen. When my estrogen gets too high, I'm certainly a little more snappy. Don't like that. That'd really be it. Maybe try some CBD. Don't know. Andrew, what is your protocol for transitioning from long ester to prop and then back to prop long ester? Okay, so from long ester to prop and then back from prop to long ester. Well, the latter transition is much easier because prop is out of your system. I mean, I don't know, dude. You're talking about eight days you should give it fully out, right? Because the half-life is very short. 2 to 4 days, depending on the person. And then the residual prop is out of your system. Prop is not a long ester. It does not sit around in your blood. It doesn't sit in the depot. It doesn't just stay in your system like these longer esters are designed to do. So the switch from prop to enanthate was 1 day prop, the next day enanthate. No big deal, really, honestly. The switch from what was Cypionate at the time, I believe, was it Cypionate? I'm pretty sure it was higher dose Cypionate to testosterone propionate was also instant. But all the effects that I got in the first 4 weeks, as well as my labs, were understood in the context of still having Cypionate in my blood, right? So I didn't make any choices on ultimately how to continue dosing it until week 4, week 5, when I realized, or when at that point, almost definitely a lot of the longer esters out of the blood. You want to give 45 days in total, but I really kind of gave it 30 to dial in, and I was fine thereafter. I noticed for sure that transitioning from a longer ester to testosterone propionate, I was overstimulated for the first 5 days or so, 3 to 5 days, I want to say. Yeah. And that is due to just very, very super physiologic levels of testosterone, because you have all this long ester in you still, and then you're injecting prop, which is just, skyrocketing test that day. So, I didn't sleep well for a couple of days. I felt generally overstimulated. Joe Isaac, you suggest sources when being on any consultation with you. Sources. Yes. Definitely. Yep. 100%. Yeah. Depending on what you may need. Yes. One of the things that I have to frequently put in the comment section in response to people asking for sources is we can't put them on the channel. We can't talk about it, right? YouTube has, very particular kind of guidelines about that. And as we've seen over the years in my channel getting banned, they're pretty fucking decisive on banning you, if you say certain shit or give sources, even though it's innocuous, right? Not dangerous, not suggesting anyone to go do anything retarded, they still have an eye on that, so we can't talk about it. But yeah, in coaching programs, 1 month, 3 month, and 6 month programs, yes, you will get sources for everything you need. And if it's a TRT protocol consultation, same thing. Joe Isaac is also saying, my friend takes Schisandra and he felt dizzy, confused, and elevated body temperature. Can you give your opinion on this? No idea. It's interacting with his physiology in some weird way. That should not be doing that. Not at all. I mean, is he taking Wellbutrin, and it's a dopaminergic, and so is Schisandra, Please remember to give context. Please. BioBuilder Leo says, what protocol would reverse issues that arise from 10 years of chronic cannabis usage? Man, probably like cholinergic nootropics, like paracetam and citicoline, 4 days a week, 3 days off. I just did a video literally yesterday on that compound, paracetam. So I would watch that video and execute the protocol within that video. Grunlund says, heard Leo mentioned drugs like lamagretine, lithium, and ketamine can completely eliminate stress as well. Know anything about that combo? No. Leo was definitely into some additional stuff than what is typically considered general biohacking. So I don't know. Don't really know. I can tell you one thing though. If Leo said it, it's probably true. That fucking guy. I've tried to go and validate some of the shit that he said, and I mean, there's a couple things I found where he was kind of wrong, but that's everybody. I've been wrong about shit, but not many things, same with Vigorous Steve. I haven't found a fucking thing that guy's been wrong about so far. So something to think about. Trey, been taking beef thyroid every 3 days at 90 milligrams. It seems I'm running into tolerance, unfortunately. Has this happened to you? The answer to that question is yes, but if I stopped taking it, I would notice less energy. Okay. So I think what you probably were feeling in the beginning was, it's hard to explain what the hell that is. It was definitely some neurotransmitter elevation in response to having what is ultimately active thyroid hormones from, bovine thyroid tissue. And so brain always, in an attempt to not cause a catastrophe, will downregulate that response. So potentially, your noradrenaline was elevating in that first week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. For me, it was like 3 weeks or something. I felt whew, I'm this is the best energy drink in the world. But then it just balanced out into sustainable good energy, but without that noticeable stimulation that I had in the first period, which I actually like better. I don't like feeling like I'm on Adderall, and that's how it made me feel in the first 3 weeks. And I just don't like that. So yes, it has happened to me, but if I removed it from the regimen, which I would never at this point, I love the Bovine desiccated thyroid supplement that I'm taking from New Zealand. It should be a staple in people's, regimens if they're not close to being hyperthyroid. It will only benefit you, and it's not going to shut your thyroid hormones down. And it's fucking insane for energy. Mohammed, ever heard of PSSD caused by ashwagandha? Yeah, ashwagandha doesn't cause PSSD, but because it's not an SRI, but it can cause a sexual dysfunction problem, and it's much easier to fix than actual PSSD. You've got to get testosterone elevated. You have to have estradiol between 20 and 30, maybe 18. Maybe you need to be at 18 picograms per milliliter estradiol. Maybe you need to be at 15. You know, guys swear that low estradiol is a problem. It's actually a problem more so when you take AIs. If you naturally get your estradiol down to between 15 and 18 picograms per milliliter, you know, and you've got high testosterone, I guarantee your sexual function is going to come back after about 6 weeks. However, you may be one of those people, in addition to some of the PSSD folks, that are going to need to be running Winstrol with the TRT HCG protocol, Proviron with the TRT HCG protocol, Oxandrolone with a TRT HCG protocol, Primobolan with a TRT HCG protocol, or Masteron with a TRT HCG protocol. Anabolic androgenic steroids have gotten people better from PSSD when nothing else can, in addition to TRT plus HCG. The only explanation I have for that is these steroids are modifying the androgen receptor binding domains, which they've been proven to do in some well-respected journals, papers, and that is somehow enhancing the effect of testosterone at the receptor side, which is then able to induce genetic activity post-androgen receptor binding, which then has the effect on tissues, the brain, etc. That's what that'd be my best guess there. You are welcome. Thank you for the super chat, brother. View on Clomid versus tamoxifen. Well, tamoxifen, I believe, is just a selective estrogen receptor modulator or blocker. Clomid is a SERM. Bottom line with blocking estrogen receptors is it isn't good. Because, you know, like, I mean, I think, isn't tamoxifen more selective, like breast tissue versus Clomid, which is, you know, pituitary, but it also blocks fucking estrogen receptors in your eyes, which causes ocular damage and eye floaters and all this kind of shit. The other problem, though, with like Clomid as an example, same thing with Enclomiphene, by the way, is that you can block receptors all you want. Well, elevated estradiol is still a problem. Okay, estradiol in the blood is still a fucking problem. It's still going to be a problem. It's not binding everywhere. It's still binding elsewhere. You're not blocking it everywhere. So I think they're PCT drugs at best. You know, anti-gyno drugs, tamoxifen would really fall into that category. Clomid is a PCT drug. So is enclomiphene. You know, the primary company pushing enclomiphene, saying it doesn't have side effects, you know, and that the side effects are indistinguishable from placebo is fucking bullshit. And the fact that that company, who you guys know who they are, that pushes enclomiphene as TRT, which is also a misnomer, you might as well call it a fucking lie. It's horseshit. Clomid and enclomiphene and analogs are PCT drugs, period. For men, at least. Elman, the relationship between E2 levels and urinary incontinence. Whoo! You just touched on a pretty detailed scientific topic, which no one talks about, that I happen to get into. Incontinence is a symptom of high or low E2. So here's the bottom line with that, because there's a very complex relationship here. Estradiol above range will make it harder for you to urinate. People think this is a prostate issue. It's not. It is, I think, via elevations of arginine vasopressin, which otherwise is known as antidiuretic hormone. So when that hormone is above range, you retain more water, right? You could probably replicate that effect by taking desmopressin, intranasal desmopressin, which is essentially, an analog of vasopressin or arginine vasopressin, antidiuretic hormone. Okay, so estradiol levels above range, well above range, will make it harder to pee because of elevated antidiuretic hormone. In addition, though, estrogen has a very direct effect to the lining of the bladder, okay, and bladder function in general. So the higher the estradiol, like the more potentially you may have inflammation of the bladder and it's harder to urinate. The lower the estradiol, okay, this is where low estradiol can become problematic for people that have like weak bladders or overactive bladder. The lower the estradiol, the more you're going to have overactive bladder, okay? You're going to urinate more. This is why across the board people say I urinated all my water weight out when estradiol got low. It's number one because of a low set point of arginine vasopressin or antidiuretic hormone. And it's secondly because low estradiol makes it so that the strength of your bladder muscles are less, right? You get a weaker bladder. Go read in r/menopause, the menopause subreddit, all the women that have a low estradiol and can't control their urination. Like they just pee entirely too much and it messes with their serum electrolytes and they have hydration problems, etc. You know, that is both because of low antidiuretic hormone and because they have weak bladders. Oral estradiol, or in some cases vaginal estradiol cream for those women, helps them. So yes, there is a direct relationship between that. I can tell you, me personally, when my estradiol drops below 20 or so, even if it's dropping fast from like 35 down to 21 or something, I urinate more, at which time I have to drink less water so that I can reset the antidiuretic hormone set point. Like if you water restrict, you make more antidiuretic hormone, right? Arginine vasopressin or vasopressin. So that happens to me, and I've got to drink less water at a time, and generally less water, and step back and realize, like, a lot of us that are athletic and walk a lot and do exercise have some degree of psychogenic polydipsia, which is you drink water because you're an athlete or because you're active, but you don't actually need to drink water. Okay, psychogenic polydipsia. So you've got, so in those, I have that, right? So, because I'm just like active and I used to be a runner for 10 years, I drank so much water over the years. And that messes with serum electrolytes. So if E2 goes low and you start having urinary issues where you're peeing too much, drink less water, even though that's counterintuitive, your body will balance out. You get water from food. The 8 glasses of 8 ounces a day of water is not a good recommendation for, a good degree of people. It's not about that. Maybe you're retaining a lot. Maybe you don't need all that much water. It's fucking with your electrolytes for sure. So, yep, there is a direct connection. BioBuilder Leo. Been using new pet paracetam dafinil, alpha GPC. But is there anything for elevated prolactin? To lower prolactin? Yeah, Schisandra. Schisandra and some P5P would almost definitely take your prolactin down. Yeah. I mean, otherwise you could just run cabergoline, which will fucking definitely take that shit down. You are welcome. One baby. Uno Baby says, any experience with tests compounded with anastrozole? Nope. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody, brother. Looking to try single sub-Q weekly shot of 40 tests and 0.1 milligrams? I don't know what 0.1 milligrams. 0.01? Because if that's 1 milligrams, yeah, man, I don't know about that. Anastrozole 650 recombinant HCG on top of 50 milligrams test prop intramuscular daily. Sounds good on paper. That does not sound good on paper at all, brother. Nope. No. Don't inject the combo test anastrozole combination, because anastrozole is something you need to be dialing in with the right dose, preferably with 0.125 milligram tablets that you can split in half and then half again. So you get 0.03 each dose. Yeah, that there is a recipe for disaster. I mean, I think the test prop 15, what you'd be better off doing is, keep your HCG dose the same. Looks like that's 650 IU once a week. That's tolerable. By day 4, you're going to have no HCG in the system and testicles will start to shrink or whatever, but that might be fine for you. And keep that 15 milligrams test prop IM daily, and you probably won't need an AI at all, and everything will probably function really well. If you do need an AI, 0.03 to 0.06 to 0.09 to 0.125 milligrams of anastrozole. Andrew, any reason you chose Enanthate over SIP? Yeah, slightly shorter half-life, basically. Yeah, I mean, I like to change things and whatever, and generally, I don't want these long-ass esters sitting around for fucking long. People think that testosterone, enanthate, and Cypionate are the same. Well, they kind of are, but they're not, actually. Testosterone, enanthate is out of your system sooner. It actually peaks quicker, too. That's why. As far as a difference between the two, I really can't tell. Maybe a little cleaner energy. It's hard to say. But I know, though, because of the half-life, there's less constant conversion to estradiol, and there's less saturation of estrogen at the receptor sites and tissues. Joe Isaac, how much is the monthly consultation for dopamine issues if you have one? There is a 1-month one, and that's $19.99, so it's $2,000. You can tell what protocol you have dopamine, I will get it. Oh, absolutely. If you got a dopamine issue, if that's the issue, Joe, I mean, we would fact find. Probably the most important part, or one of the most important parts of any coaching program that I run is fact finding. I will drill you with questions. I'll get into your labs. I'll get into every single thing. Things you don't even want to tell me. I'll make sure I know, because I need to understand exactly what's happening. At that point, we can determine if that's dopamine or not. But yeah, book if you need to book. livecortex.com. Kevin, is 500 nanograms per deciliter total testosterone the equivalent to 100K salary? Too high to say fuck it and jump on TRT, but too low to live your best life. 100K salary, too low to live your best life. Interesting. Yeah, well, I understand, actually, especially if you run a company that costs money to run. Somewhat, yeah, basically. I mean, 500 might be fine for a select few individuals. I don't think it's many individuals that 500 is going to be a good number on, with, I really don't find that being a good number. Stand by 1 second, guys. I got to grab my laptop. Okay. Yeah, I know I would have my gym sessions at 500 nanograms per deciliter total testosterone would suck. They would just suck, whereas anything above 750, my gym sessions are significantly better, 500, before I started even messing with testosterone at 33, I was at 290. So that's hypogonadal. At 33, I was hypogonadal. It's one of the reasons I got into at least the testosterone side of all of this. I was hypogonadal at 33. And my gym sessions at 290 sucked so bad, bro. I could not recover. I'd have to take 4 days, 5 days off the gym, It wasn't until I got into 600, 650 that I was like, okay, I can work out now. And then obviously getting into 900 natty was significantly better than, going on TRT. Going super physiologic was fucking crazy for the gym. And then, now where I'm at now, which I bet my blood levels are going to test between 750 and maybe 900 on total test, but estradiol almost definitely in range, and I still feel really, really great. 7 days a week. And, here in like an hour or less than an hour, I'm going to be doing what is probably going to be a 5-mile walk in downtown Pittsburgh. But yeah, 500 is not optimal. Brother, Mohammed, I'm 23 with test levels of 480. Do you think I should still consider TRT? Everyone is telling me I'm too young, but I'm getting desperate at this point. Yeah, look, if you have run Vigorous Steve's protocol, which I think he has a video on this, for what to do to raise testosterone as a natural, if you're young and none of that stuff is working, then who's to tell you that you shouldn't go on testosterone, dude? Maybe you do. Maybe you need to, I was 290 at 33. So something was wrong. And I hadn't really ran testosterone prior to that. Oh God, when the fucking, I don't even remember when the last time before that I ran testosterone. So, I would have been a good candidate for TRT then. I chose the natural route and it worked, but it won't work for everybody. Natural won't work for everybody, man, depending on what's going on. So, Mohammed, it's up to you, brother. It's up to you. You're a man, you're an adult. You're still learning. You're not going to know who you are until you're 37, but, or 35, but look, man, it's your life. It's ultimately your life and your choice. Your life, your choice. Vitali, Hitman. Jonathan is saying, tried Mucuna and P5P for libido motivation, lower refractory period. Mucuna didn't aid, actually did lower libido a little bit, but man, P5P 2 times a week, 150 plus daily B complex changed my life. You're blessed. Okay, interesting. Great. Right? If one thing worked for you, it worked for you. I'm not entirely sure why Mucuna wouldn't work, but it could have been via potentiation of the other catecholinergic neurotransmitters, which I don't know, mean they're vasoconstrictive in penile tissue. If injected in penile tissue, neuroadrenaline, and binding to those receptors. And so potentially that had some negative response there, and that could have been why. Mark, taking 1800 paracetam with 100 milligrams CDP choline daily, been depressed and generally feeling fatigued. The video says, I think I should move to CDP choline every 2 to 3 days. Case in point, maybe some of you have watched that video, whatever, but case in point, why I suggest low dosing choline sources on racetams, and generally, a medium dose or a conservative dose of the racetam. This is case in point. Too much choline with CDP, which has a 70-hour half-life, which means 140 hours, it's completely out of your system. You know how long that is, man? That's like a week. You're going to get lethargy, brain fog, fatigue, depression. You're not going to fucking feel good. Not going to feel good at all. So I think the dose of paracetam is fine. But if you're going to, like that 100 milligrams of citicoline, you should take every 4th day. Yeah, you should take that every 4th day. Or though, considering your state, don't take citicoline for a week. And then when you bring it back in between 25 and 50 milligrams. Danny is asking, how does TRT make you feel mentally? A lot stronger, a much more masculine, right? Because of the androgen receptor mediated neurotransmitter modifications. The difference in sustained energy throughout the day is marked. Okay. It is a significant fucking difference. Like, as I usually talk about, energy in the latter part of the evening is always better on androgens. It's just much better, right? Assuming your diet is correct, you're not drinking a lot or doing other things that, mess with your energy. Your energy is a lot better later in the day and throughout the day. Like, look, if you can dial in a TRT protocol that is perfect for you, okay, which I can tell you, when you get there, life is so great. You're just energized all the time. You feel really great. Sexual function's great. You want to go to the gym. You want to work out. You stay lean easier. You put on muscle easier. You have to work hard at all that stuff, though, too. Abs are made in the kitchen. I don't even have fucking abs. I don't care. I'm cool with having like the rest of it. But yeah, very strong, cognitively adept, and energized. Brother Uno Babies is saying, I actually got the idea from one of your videos via 1x a week oral AI use. Rationale being the sub-Q anastrozole, which can be into, I don't know what that abbreviation is, and 0.025 milligram increments is longer acting due to altered pharmacokinetics. Yeah, but you don't want to combine in the same injection anastrozole and testosterone. It is harder to control. Joe Isaac, does infant formula stretch beyond gut health, such as neurological benefits? Yes, because most infant formula has uridine and acetylcholine in it, and those are building blocks for neurogenesis and new neurons. And they should have DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. There is no medication or supplement for PSSD. You've read too much of the forums where people think one thing is going to be the solution. It's a complex combination of trial and error, various different hormone protocols, mainly until you get resolution. Elman, can high E2 cause a sensation of extreme unrelenting fatigue? Yes, it can. That happens to me if I inject bolus long esters at once. Anything higher than 100 milligrams, and I feel unrelenting fatigue where I basically want to just lay in bed all day, and I don't like taking large quantities of AIs at a time, so that just doesn't work for me. That's why I don't inject 100 milligrams at once, but some people can. Also, though, like the fatigue you might be getting is related to, what's it called? It's a testosterone metabolite, which stimulates an immunogenic response, which makes you feel like you have the flu. And this is what people are referring to when they use the phrase test flu. Okay, so you probably actually have test flu in response to that testosterone metabolite, which triggers an immunogenic response and gives you a flu-like unrelenting fatigue. It's not fun. Andrew, any thoughts on a tri-blend test? 50% Cypionate, 37% Enanthate, and 12.5 may work for you. May work for you. I think they're good. Whatever the ester is, man, you got to dial it into where estradiol doesn't go above range, or you got to dial your AI in where you're microdosing to keep it between 18 and 28 picograms per milliliter, just as a general rule, right? Or 20 to 30, right? I mean, it's pretty close. So if you can do that on any ester, you're going to have a better time on TRT, feel good, not have many or any side effects, and your dick's going to work. So, and that applies to this blend as well. 50% Cypionate, 37% Enanthate. So you got two somewhat longer esters. Enanthate a little less long than Cyp, prop, fast acting. I mean, you probably feel good on it. Defy has a lot of, blends. The only blend that I've tried from them, which I found, gave me more noticeable energy, like sort of a stimulant energy than just Cypionate alone, was a Cyp prop blend. And I believe it was, I want to say 80-20 or 60-40. Nah, I'm pretty sure it was 80-20 or 70-30 in favor of Cyp versus prop. But those can work. Jason, best time to test estradiol levels after a testosterone injection. All of it depends on what you're trying to figure out. Like, I'll run estradiol 3 hours later after an injection to see, because it's rising at that point, to get an idea of where it is kind of generally now. Like, I can tell at that point, okay, if it's 32, then probably it was 27 before I injected, and went up a couple points in the meantime. So that kind of gives you an idea of where your baseline is. Depends on your frequency of injection, though. So like if you inject every 4th day, the time to run estradiol to gauge where estradiol ultimately is going would be day 2, so you see where it's at its peak, as well as day 4, so you see where it's at its trough. All depends on your protocol, man. I mean, if you're injecting, you can do it any different which way you want and then gauge where estradiol generally is. Remember, testing estradiol sensitive is a snapshot. I mean, it's going to change throughout the day a couple points. And if you're injecting boluses at a time, it's going to change many points, right? So you ultimately don't really know where the fuck it is. But, if you want to be super optimal, post-injection 2 hours where it's peaking, later on that day at 7 p.m., test it again right before Quest closes or 6 p.m. Then you have an idea where it's peaking that day if you're doing daily injections. And then the next day before you inject at a trough, essentially, which is not a real trough, but it is a trough compared to your peak that day. That would be the answer to that one, brother. Elman, could it be that joint pain is caused by Arimidex itself? Well, sure, and not crash levels of E2. No, because I've had a hard time believing that I crushed my E2 within 4 days of. Here's the thing about Arimidex, and most aromatase inhibitors, is that the same level of estradiol that you end up on, which gives you joint pain, if you did that naturally, just by lowering TRT dose or something, or if you ended up there naturally somehow, your joints probably wouldn't hurt. And the reason that is because this is in the aromatase inhibitor literature, too rapid reductions of estradiol causes arthralgia, transient arthralgia, which is this joint pain that you're referring to. Whereas if you slowly lower the estradiol, like the fluid in the joints that ultimately protect your joints from having pain, don't decline as rapidly. Like it's almost like, how would I explain this? Like, yeah, if you took your car, and you just fender bendered it into a car in front of you, but you kept your foot on the gas, you might move that car. There'll be damage to both of your cars. From the bump, there might be a little bit of whiplash. Probably not, though. The damage would be less and everybody would be largely fine. But you still have to pay $4,000 fucking dollars or $7,000 to fix it. Whereas if you put your foot on the gas and went 60 miles per hour at that car and you fucking, crashed into it, well, that's a big difference. And shit's going to be totaled even worse. Everybody's going to feel worse and people are going to be injured worse. So, I mean, I don't know if that's a great analogy, but it should suffice to get the point across that rapid reductions in estradiol, which aromatase inhibitors induce, is why you get joint pain. I've been at between 15 and 18 picograms per milliliter of estradiol, just letting it go there naturally from dropping my T dose to 70 milligrams. This was, 9 months ago or something as an experiment, and also to take some time off Arimidex. Joints, like lower back was a little sore. There was there was a bone in the left side of my back that was slightly sore, but I did not have joint pain at that point. Whereas if I take Arimidex and get it down to 15, I'm going to have mega joint pain and neck pain, neck joint pain, unbearable. So you can crush your E2 with 4 days of 0.258x every other day. Abso-fucking-lutely. If you're not 13, 14, 1500, nanograms per deciliter total test with a good degree of HCG, yeah, that's going to crush your estrogen. I don't know who told you otherwise. D-ribose, I think it's pretty epic. I was taking it for a while. I have a video on it on this channel. It's called Take This for Energy or Most Impressive Energy Supplement. Pretty powerful stuff. Does Bacopa have dopaminergic effects? Not that I know of. It could be. I'd have to re-look at the papers. I do not think so, though. Mohammed, what are your thoughts on St. John's wort? 900 milligrams a day to see if it can help with anhedonia. Well, it's a mild SSRI, so I really wouldn't be taking it if I were you. Thank you, brother. Thanks for watching. Elman is saying, how much does 500 IU HCG every other day increase the necessity for a weekly amount of Arimidex for you? Well, 500 EOD, yeah, I mean, usually almost always 0.03, 0.06, 0.09, and 0.125. It will all depend on how erections are nocturnally in the morning, as well as how my libido is throughout the day, and particularly around women. So I'll know if I'm not interested, if I'm less interested, estradiol is likely higher. And especially if the erections are going to shit, estrogen's definitely higher. So it's case dependent. I don't really know. But it will, like 500 IU every other day will, because you'll have steady state, million international units of HCG in the serum with that protocol. You'll have a good bit. Yeah. I mean, you might be better off if you're trying to reduce aromatization or constant aromatization, in this case, running, 1,000 every 5th day. So you're still getting pretty close to where you are here. Like, you're still getting enough HCG, and you're getting enough at a time to adequately, do what it needs to do in terms of helping libido and steroidogenesis and spermatogenesis. But it isn't as significantly, aromatization inducing as that current protocol. All depends on you, man. Some guys can get away with lots of HCG at a time. I'm one of them, but past a certain threshold, I'm just going to aromatize a lot. So I'm running 500 IU. Again, it's like every 3rd day or something right now on my current protocol. I've still yet to see where that ultimately takes the estradiol, but I do not think that's going to be a problem, because I ran the same amount of HCG, just split up into less bolus at a time with a similar dose of test, and I know where that takes the estradiol, which is in range usually. And if it gets out, there's always Arimidex and a very little bit. Funny thing about Arimidex, guys, is like the reason I always refer to 0.06 or 0.09 is because unless I'm on a very high dose of testosterone and a lot of HCG, let's call it 0.25 and above, I lose libido for 2 days, 2 days, maybe 3 days. I just lose libido. Can't have sex, because I'm not interested at all. It's all gone away. And that's because estradiol dropped too quick. Even if it's still in range, dropping too quick is a problem. There's literature suggesting, males need aromatase activity in the brain for adequate libido. This is true, right? So, that's why, I don't know, like guys like Dave Lee and even the TRT hormone optimization people and many others are right in that if you want to drop estradiol, it ultimately is better to do it, via lowering the test dose or having that happen naturally versus an AI. But that's not always plausible. That's not always, doable or ideal. Feasible is the word I was looking for. Fantastic list. Phenibut, 800 milligrams plus phenylpirastam, 150 milligrams, 4 times a week. Thoughts? I think less than 4 times a week is going to be better on, the propensity for your brain to get addicted to Phenibut, the GABA B receptor specifically. Yeah. If that happens and you get, your brain gets dependent on the use of Phenibut to bind to those GABA B receptors, when you decide to stop taking Phenibut, or when you run out of Phenibut, you're going to have a very difficult time being happy, having pleasure, having joy. Your libido is going to go to shit. You're going to sleep like shit. It'd be the same thing as being in a Xanax withdrawal. There's really nothing good about Phenibut unless you dose it sparingly, just because you want to induce a relaxation effect or something. If you are dosing it consistently, your brain is going to get addicted to it, and you're going to have withdrawal symptoms that feel fucking terrible. You don't want that to happen, brother. Don't want that to happen, brother. All right, any other questions, guys? If you got them, post them. Otherwise, your boy is going on a 5-mile walk here in a bit to get some cardio in. Jesus Christ. Can't wait, dude. I have on my Facebook profile, which is just Ryan Michael Ballo, walking in the Strip District of Pittsburgh, and there's a fucking goalpost, a yellow goalpost from a football field on the street. But it's there like as a statue thing, like, or it's actually there. It's meant to be there, but there's a legitimate goalpost cemented into the ground. Maybe I'll walk by that today. Maybe not. I don't know. What's the weather like? It's been actually a little chillier here the last couple days, which I hate because I really want it to I really want it to decide what it wants to do. It would be nice if it could decide what it wants to do. But yeah, it looks like it's now 55. Like, what the hell? It is May, brother. It's May, brother. All right, boys, I'm going to end the stream. Looks like there's no questions coming through. Thank you, those of you that asked questions. I really appreciate the time that you've taken to be here today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and weekend. I've got content coming Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then obviously another live stream this coming Saturday. I've got 6 open slots, okay? Some guys are going to be closing or our coaching period is going to be ending in the next 2 months, so some more slots may open up. But right now, if I get overbooked, I've got to shut these programs down. Those of you thinking of getting on board with me, do it as soon as you can. And by that, I mean today, this weekend, Monday, as soon as you can. If you've got the budget, let's get on board. This is, one of my most rewarding
sets of work, and it's where we can actually make a large impact. You know, the email consultations, I can give you some advice, right? But working with you one-on-one, looking at labs, giving you protocols on an online document, hearing from you daily or every other day is a significant difference on how much stuff we can do. Great questions. Thanks for being here, guys. I hope you have a great day. Hope you sleep well tonight, boys. And I'll talk to you on the next one. Later, brother.